Welcome to Gumball Love. I'm Melissa Ledger, professional relationship coach, creator of Gumball Love and the Back to You Academy. If you're ready to stop the cycle of toxic men, get through the breakup once and for all, and finally get back to you, you are in the right place. This journey is about healing your heart, and you are encouraged to take the pace that is just right for you. In the process, you will build a foundation of confidence and strength that will make you unshakable, I promise. So get ready to level up your mindset and your lifestyle as you awaken the seeds of greatness just waiting to burst into full bloom. Let's do this. Welcome back to another episode of Gumball Love. I'm your host, Melissa Ledger. Today, I'm going to talk to you about the guy that keeps hanging on to you, even when he may be dating somebody else. He just won't commit. He texts you, tortures you, keeps hanging on, but then as soon as you get close, he goes away. We've talked about different versions of this guy, but I was speaking to someone I met yesterday at the Kelly Lynn Adams event, which is awesome. And just as a side note, Kelly Lynn Adams is killing it. If you're not listening to her podcast, it's one that I highly recommend. And you know, I don't recommend very many podcasts. Why? Because I don't want to send you in a direction of anyone that's going to tell you to change yourself, to become something different, to become something that somebody else wants. Now, Kelly doesn't talk specifically about relationships. She's a professional business and life coach. But that said, I just don't refer you to very many people because, especially other relationship coaches, because a lot of them say, well, what men want is, and then they tell you 3 or 4 things. And then you think, oh man, I don't have one of those 4 things. So maybe I should really work on that. And then you start immediately changing who you are to become what one dude or one chick said that you should have, because it's based on what? You know what I mean? I get fired up about that because it just annoys me so much. And it really takes us down the wrong road. It takes us down the road of losing our self-worth. And so if I recommend somebody to you, I really feel like this is somebody who's going to take you to the next level. This is somebody that's going to give you that paradigm shift. It's going to contribute to your life in a way that helps you continue to discover and grow into your authentic self. So highly recommend Kelly Lynn Adams. Her event was a game changer yesterday. I feel she said, we did deep work yesterday and it's going to pop up throughout the week. Things that we discussed or got deep in there and they're going to kind of work their way to the surface. And it's so true. Like today I can just feel my brain is shifting around. But at that event, I talked to a girl who had been dating a guy for 8 years, who has dated other people and come back to her. And basically, it's like that torture, right? Where they have that perfect connection. They have that chemistry. They have something magical, feels like a soulmate. There's such a closeness. There's such a feeling of this guy is perfect for me. Like I feel wonderful. And she said, when I was away from him, I had never felt such heartbreak. And so sometimes a little bit of the wrong guy you feel like is better than none of the wrong guy, because there's something about him, even though he's toxic, you still want him because you see something and you feel something that you can't describe to other people. Yet that same guy causes so much pain, and you go to those people in your support system to help you through the pain, and they want to stop the pain, yet they just don't understand what you're dealing with. So I want to share my perspective with you on this, because when I walked away, I told her a few things, but as I walked away, I was thinking, I know. And I've said this before, maybe different ways, but here's the thing. The way she described him, she said, he's intimidated by me. And that's because I asked her, why do you think he's not committing? And she said, he's intimidated. And how many times have we felt this way? I just feel like my life is intimidating to him. I've had guys say, you don't need a man. You have everything. You have a home, you have a job, and what am I going to provide for you? And that would cause me to hide my work, hide things about myself, to water down job descriptions, meetings that I was attending, and feeling like I needed to be small. And so that's part of the story. But as I listened, she was telling me, he's actually with somebody else right now, but he continues to reach out to me. And I thought, okay, he's intimidated by her, yet he keeps contacting her. They have this special connection. But then he introduces another woman in the picture. And then the answer came to me. So clear. It was like, he does love her. He does want her. But he can't deal with the idea of her rejecting him. So he has figured out a way to keep himself just far enough away so that she will continue waiting and continue chasing him. Because if he stays just hidden enough, then she will constantly look for him, want him, beg for him maybe. She didn't say she did, but I've done it. I mean, I have been in situations like, why are you hiding from me? What is going on? I just wanted to be with him. Yet he's so intimidated and he's so fearful that he looks at you and he says in his mind, there's no way I can be enough. I've heard guys, several, say this even out loud. I can't be the man that you need. You need somebody different. So they imagine going all in and then you discovering that they're not enough and you walking away for good. So they develop a system to where they can keep you around by creating doubt. Some guys are, they pick on you. They pick on your choices for food, for clothes, for your furniture choices, for, where you want to go out to eat, which I already said food, but, it's like any little thing, the shoes you wear, the kind of home decor, your job, they pick on you. Pick. This book that I eventually write does have a piece in it. I have a first draft of it, and I call this the pick. They just pick on you and pick on you and pick on you. And we've all heard that term, the death of 1,000 cuts. So we keep coming back because there are good qualities about this guy. If we could get these guys to see their own worth and value, to understand that we're not looking for them to become some superhero. We already love them. They already are giving us barely anything. If they gave us everything, we'd be completely happy. We're not looking for Mr. Everything and a perfect fairy tale. We just want them and all of them around. Like that's their reality. But they picture that. And it's like, ooh, I can't do that. I can't be the everyday guy. I can't be the guy that just goes and gets groceries with you and goes shopping because, that's the reality of a real relationship. When you settle in, it's like, hey, I need to go get groceries. I've got to get the oil changed. You want to come with me? Yeah or no, I've got to stay home and do this. Hey, I've got this work project. I've got to get this meeting done. I need to head to the gym. What do you want for dinner? It turns out, one guy said, marriage is a lot of conversations of what you're going to eat. It was like, it just gets down to what are we having for dinner a lot. And it's just the everyday life. And the guys that are so intimidated and so insecure about themselves, you have to know that he looks in the mirror, he looks at his accomplishments, and he says, I'm not enough. So instead of, now this is also where when he thinks he's not enough and he does not respect himself, this is also where he does not respect you. Self-respecting people, when they feel like they aren't enough for someone, they let them go. Or they feel like if they're not right for that person or that person isn't right for them, they will say so because they want to cut ties and move forward and be in the life that's congruent with how they feel or where they should be. They don't keep people around. I know you're like this. Like if you don't want to be with somebody. I remember when I don't know, it was like last summer or something, or 2 summers ago, I was dating this guy and he was a really nice guy, there was nothing specifically like horribly wrong with him, but he was very insensitive. And I just started to not enjoy being around him. I wasn't looking forward to his company. And I just said very calmly, I just don't feel like this is the right fit. And he was like, what are you saying? Like, I mean, we have so many things we wanted to do together. And it was just like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. And I could have strung him along. I mean, he was like the most wine and dine dude. Like he always wanted to go out to really great restaurants. And he was the guy that ordered the dessert plus the after drink. And I mean, it was just like you had wine after dinner, then you had the coffee and espresso and the dessert. I mean, he was just a total foodie. And we had these great times. But after a while, I was like, yeah, this isn't the person. I just started to not be as attracted to him. And I needed to move forward. So I respect myself and I respect him. But I have to respect myself first enough to say, you know what? Look, I think you're great, but this isn't a fit and I need to move forward. And I cut it. And we didn't talk after that because he needs to move on to his life. So, but if I don't respect myself, and let's say I felt really intimidated by him, and I was like, I don't know, like I like him, but I'm going to reverse the whole situation. Let's say I really do like him and I think he's great, but I feel like I'm not successful. I feel like I'm overweight. I feel like, he's going to eventually, when he really knows me, if he sees too much of my apartment, this is why like they don't show who they are. They're like, I've had coaching sessions where girls are like, I've never even seen his apartment. We dated for a year, never went to his house once. It's because they think if you see how I live and if you see who I am, you're going to walk away. So I have to see if I can keep you at arm's length and I'm going to disappear and reappear so that I remain elusive and exciting. And a lot of women will keep their interest. They'll keep thinking he keeps dangling the carrot, right? I mean, it seems like, okay, Melissa, is this the dangling the carrot story? Yeah, it is. He keeps dangling the carrot because he feels like in his other hand, he has the reality, which he thinks is terrible. He's like, she's gonna leave if I really just show her, okay, this is my apartment. This is how I really live. Like, have you ever been in a relationship and the first time you decide, well, I have to go poop and I'm going to go ahead and poop in his apartment or his house, like you're just going to go and risk, yep, poop stinks. Everyone poops. But there's that moment where you're like, okay, like, is he going to reject me because I'm a human being that goes poop? But, there's those moments where you're like, okay, well, here I am, especially if it's like a small quarters and it's like, when you got to go, you got to go. And you're like, well, all right, thank God for poopery. But sometimes you don't even have that. You're like, this is reality. And I remember over the years just having different moments with that guy and they'd be like, okay, did you just drop a deuce? Sometimes what they'd say, yes, I did. And then it's funny. And you know what? Sometimes like guys don't realize that are insecure. It's moments like that where you become closer as a couple because you're able to just, okay, yes, it's nice. We don't want to be doing that on date 2, but there comes a point where it's like, okay, enough. And I'm not saying like we need to become really gross, although I know couples that really are disgusting. And those kinds of moments of hiding or even being discreet about them are so long gone. So whatever works for you, whatever works for you. But the point is, those are the moments that the gumball guy can't have. He will hide. And I'll hear people going, well, my gumball guy would go poop in front of me. And okay, so maybe that's not his thing, but like he won't show you his apartment. He won't show you who he is. He won't really let you meet his family. He won't really let you into his life. He won't really spend every weekend with you, or he's not your regular plan. He stays at a distance because he's afraid that if he really comes in and he comes in close, you're going to bolt. So I'm saying this to you so that you can watch how he works. Before, you're not going to be like, oh my gosh, Melissa, I listen to this podcast. I'm going to go break up with them right now. Although some people have done it because they're like, holy crap, that is exactly what is happening. So I want you to watch how he does it. What is his game? Maybe you start writing it down. Okay, so he calls and he texts, and then what does he do? Then he goes quiet for a couple of days. Then he reaches out. What makes him reach out? What prompts action? Is there something that you do that makes him call? This is where relationship, quote unquote, experts that create products that teach you how to play the game. This is the game. The game, and anybody teaching you about a game, is only required with Gumball Guys. The game only works with attention-seeking people because they love it. Makes it exciting. Keep it exciting. You keep it entertaining. You keep them guessing. Oh yeah, they're in. But you have to keep it exciting, keep it entertaining, and keep them guessing. And you have to constantly be strategic. Otherwise, they get bored and they go silent and they go play a game somewhere else. And then they're like, oh, I'm in the mood for her game now. So you can buy those products and do all that stuff, but you have to do all the work to maintain that excitement. And that's where the real relationship experts, the real researchers that sit down with healthy couples tell you that healthy couples don't do this. So I was standing next to this girl telling me the story, and her cousin was next to her. And she was telling me the other side of her. She has a healthy marriage. So here's her cousin that's been dating this guy for a long time. And then she's on the other side with this healthy marriage. And everything I was telling her cousin, she was like, yep, she's right. Healthy marriages, there are no games. There's no hiding. There's no BS. This does not exist. So many women come back to me. But Melissa, this one guy said men want. Who cares what men want? Every man has a penis, right? Every penis is not created equally. Pun intended. And they don't all think the same. Think of all the men in the world. They do not all think the same way. Guarantee. Some men watch porn, some don't. Some men like to wear purple and pink shirts and they're perfectly straight. And some men think that if I'm wearing a pink shirt, I'm gay. I've seen both guys. I know both guys are like, I like a pink shirt. I think it's great. And I don't care if people think I'm gay. The other guy's like, I'm not wearing a pink shirt because I think that makes me look gay. You know what I mean? Those are two completely different types of guys. Some guys are super metro. They get really into fashion. And also not gay. But sometimes we think, well, is he gay? Is he a little bit feminine? Maybe he's just metro. Then you have the other guy who rides a Harley Davidson and has a huge beard, and maybe he wears like a bandana on his head, and maybe he does have a Harley Davidson in his bike. Then there's in his garage. Maybe there's the guy that has that same outfit that doesn't have a bike but goes to bars and pretends like he does. Are those the same guys? Do they think the same way? Then there's the guys that are not very sexually driven. They are wired where their testosterone levels are not as high as other men, so they don't go out seeking sex. One of my biggest gumball guys never was taunted by anything sexy. Like I remember if I sent him or I tried to flirt with him, his way into him was through the brain, intellectual conversations. That's how we would connect. He was always uncomfortable like trying to have a sexy conversation via text or whatever. It was like, I could never really flirt with him over the phone or via text. It was like, that wasn't going to work for him. So then there's people that create products of how to have sexy text. Like that would not have worked. He would have been like, he just felt like it was cheesy. So do you get my point? It's like, sometimes there is no send these 5 texts and only then will he be wanting you more. Pay $99.99 and he will be begging for you back. Okay, so you got to buy the stuff and then you got to get the guy to do stuff. Okay, so I'm going to follow this paint by numbers program and then I'll have the guy who isn't coming to me on his own accord. I'm going to set up a stage or a system of tactics to get him and manipulate him to do what I want to do or what I want him to do. It's all BS, but it makes millions of dollars. Trust me, I'm on the banking side. I see what these guys bring in. I've looked up accounts of these types of salespeople over the years, and I'm like, oh my gosh, they make millions because we're all like, oh, okay, this is what men want. But the reality is the guy, like I've been discussing, he hates himself. So you can send texts and maybe on some days you can get him to respond in a certain way, but until he stops hating himself, he's always going to return back to that behavior. And here's the bad news. There's not enough cheerleading in the world that can get him to like himself. You can't make him like himself. He has to realize that he doesn't. and then do something about it. You're listening to this podcast right now because you like yourself. Maybe you have self-esteem issues. Maybe you feel like you have had low self-worth, but this podcast is, you're listening because you have hope for yourself. You're growing. You're like, okay, I know I'm having a hard time. And maybe you're listening to this podcast because you're in this exact situation and you're like, what do I do? But you love yourself enough to listen to a podcast. Now, if you're listening to me, if I had your phone, I'd probably see other podcasts. I'd probably see other personal development things. And it means you're in the process of really working on becoming a better person, becoming healthy, becoming strong, becoming more productive. And so if you're that kind of person, you know the kind of work and effort it takes to make progress. Just before I sat down to record this, I was cleaning out a closet. I realized my dog had been peeing on the rug in my bedroom, and I was like, I'm going to just get rid of the rug because she's peeing on it, and I'm not going to try to save it because once the urine is in there, my whole apartment is wood floor. So I'm pulling this rug out, and I realized that one of my closets really needs to be cleared out again. And I'm constantly cleaning out closets, but I realize, life is moving so fast and there's just so many things happening that closets probably need to be cleaned out so regularly. And I only have 3 closets for storage, so I'm always reshifting things as I'm buying new things. And I was just clearing all this stuff out. And when you're clearing things out, you're doing it because, I'm doing it because I'm making progress. I am up leveling. So every time I up level, I'm also cleaning and shifting things out. And that process revealed, as I was cleaning things out, it was like, oh, I no longer need this anymore. I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to move this around because I'm leveling up. And I started thinking, these guys that were basically trying to drag through us or drag with us in life, when they're not leveling up and we are, it should show you that they're really not, they don't understand how to love themselves because they're not even doing any of those things. They're not cleaning out closets. They're not listening to podcasts. They're not trying to become better. They are wallowing and staying dependent on the people that are feeding them gumballs, attention, coddling them, cheerleading them, pushing them, talking to them, listening to their problems over and over and over again. I challenge you to think about your guys' issues, like your guys, the things that you sit, and I told this to this girl yesterday, I just want you to think about, what are you guys talking about when you're talking? What is he struggling with? Has he been struggling with those same things over and over again? What is your advice to him? And what is so frustrating, and I know you and I are very similar, if there's a problem, we work on it. We solve it. We just are, okay, there's an issue. I'm working on health and fitness on a new level, really going deep on vitamins and minerals that I need. Because I'll tell you what, I did this about a year ago because I knew I needed actually almost 2 years ago now. So when I started dancing, I was like, I need to get my body in shape so I have the physical energy to do what I need to do. And you know what? I did. We're launching the 5th Back to You Academy. And we have all these members and grads and people going through transformations. And I look at that and think, man, I had to make a decision to do what I needed to do. And now I want to even be in better shape. I want to be a better dancer. I want to have a bigger academy. I want to have more women going through this process. And so I'm next leveling again. And I'm taking a lot of you with me. And you're doing so many incredible things in your life. So we go back to this guy who he's sitting there watching you. And you don't realize how you're making all this progress. You're doing all these other things in your life, even though he's there. And you could do more without him, trust me, because he is like the ball and chain. However, if you're not going to walk away from him, you need to start just observing this stuff. Because otherwise, what happens is you feel like you're not enough. You start telling the story in your head, oh, he's not committing because, and might even tell you things like, well, I just couldn't be with somebody like you because you're so, type A, and I just need somebody who's a little bit more chill, blah, blah, blah. Like whatever he says. I don't know. I just can't deal with your family. I can't deal with your friends. I don't, like when you really push it, when you get to that point where you're like, come on, what is going on? Like, why aren't you? Then he comes up with these excuses, and then you start focusing on what you feel is lacking about you. And it's not even lacking at all, but it's how he gets in your head. And then all that does is buy him more time. All he does is say things that make you feel bad about yourself so that you focus on those things instead of him. And then he still gets the benefits of being with you without having to really step up and be committed and go all in and go 100%. So all of his excuses are really just buying more time with you. And he goes away only to keep himself more desirable. And he also goes away so that if you really cut ties with him, he could be like, yeah, I was already with this other girl anyway, so no big deal. Try to talk himself into, yeah, I'm totally good. It's fine. When really he's dying inside, but he's not going to admit it. And you're going to feel like, why are you so cold? You're so impersonal. Like what is wrong with you? It doesn't even seem like you care. You've probably said that. It doesn't even seem like you care. Like why? It doesn't matter to you that we're not together? Of course it does. But you can't imagine the level of self-hate this guy is dragging around. And so when he's dragging around all the self-hate, you can't get a clear picture. You're not seeing the reality of what's actually going on. So I know I threw a lot at you, but this situation is very complex. I highly recommend that you book a one-on-one session with me at least, or join the academy. This is a join the academy situation because you get all of the Gumball Love content. What is Gumball Love? How does this guy work? There's just so many components. There's 10 major core things you need to know about Gumball Love and how this guy works so that you can really go, whoa, it'll change your whole perspective. And that perspective shift will then allow you to look at the relationship differently, just like you're looking at the relationship differently now. Imagine that on steroids. And then having the community and the support to be able to talk through it. I'm not even going to say, yeah, you'll be able to break up with them. I don't know when that'll happen for you. And I don't care when you make that decision because I don't want you to feel the pressure or the shame. So you can be like, hey, Melissa, this is coaching session number 885. I'm still with him. I know I've been at number 85. I just didn't have a coach. I didn't have perspective. I didn't have people telling me this. I was reading the books of how to get him back and how to play the game and what I was doing wrong. And I wasted years. I wasted years and years and years. I actually missed the opportunity to have children of my own. I think maybe it's still possible, but I think that window or door is closed. I missed that opportunity because I waited and waited and waited for the wrong men. I stayed in relationships too long. There's always somebody to be in a relationship with, but the right one and being able to wait for it and really leveling yourself up to the point where you can see above all of you got to get out of that. It's like, when you're on an airplane and it's a cloudy day and a lot of people, you're just, all you can see is clouds, can't see anything. A lot of people are like, come on, start dating somebody, get out there, get online dating. And you're like, no, I feel like I'm breaking through something. And people are like, no, come on. And then all of a sudden there's going to be that moment, you get above the clouds and there's the sun. And then you see the cloud cover and you're above it. And the sun just beaming in the airplane. You're like, oh my gosh, this is so amazing. It's so stormy below. It's so cloudy. It's so gray. You can't see the sun. But now I'm above the clouds. I can see. That's where I want to get you. Where you're like, oh, I'm above the clouds. I can see. And then the whole search for the guy becomes secondary because you realize, oh, this isn't what makes life happy. This isn't what makes my life meaningful. I will tell you, for me personally, what makes my life meaningful is helping you. Like, it's kind of a weird thing, but I feel like my whole purpose is to help other people get out of bad relationships and figure out how to love themselves. It's the journey that I needed the most, and I'm turning around and teaching that. And truly and honestly, it's the most fulfilling. So I really look at people like Oprah, who also didn't have children, or she didn't have children, but she was able to help so many other people. And so that's what I've been able to convert my all of my messy dating stories and all of those relationships that felt like a waste of time, now I don't think that they are. And, for those of us that may feel like we've missed that chance to have kids, you could marry somebody that has children. Like I feel like kids are good. I've always felt like children are coming into my life. I don't know how or where, but maybe somebody that I meet will be widowed and they have children. I would hate for that. It's a horrible situation, but it happens to people, right? So and there's a guy out there that's like, my gosh, I need somebody that will accept children that aren't their own. And I'm totally that kind of person. Like, I don't need a child to be my own to accept it. I can adopt kids as well. I've had that idea in my head. So did I really miss my opportunity for children? No, probably not. It's just going to come later. And that's where we have to be open to God's plan. There's a scripture that I love. I think it's in Isaiah. It says, my thoughts are not your thoughts, and my ways are not your ways. For my thoughts are higher than your thoughts, and my ways higher than your ways. God's ways are, and his means, he's not going to write your to-do list like you would. He's not going to map out your life like you would. He knows everything. So he can make what looks like a closed door open. He can close a door that you never thought you could. That's also in scripture. He has a way to say, there's another scripture, no weapon formed against me shall prosper. So all of these things that seem bad can be turned into good things. This story, however long you've been with this guy and you feel like, oh my gosh, I've wasted all this time. Yeah, I wasted a lot of time too. But you know what? I stopped and said, that's it. I'm going to move to New York City. It's the dream I've always wanted to have. I came here with a U-Haul attached to my Jeep. I mean, I had a decent job. I wasn't like poor at that point, but this apartment that I live in today was a really it was a huge stretch for me to be in. You know what? It's not a stretch for me to be here now. I love the line in the song, if you can make it there, you can make it anywhere. And girlfriend, I have made it in New York City. I just was thinking that in the cab, like, I freaking made it because I'm not struggling. I made it. I fought. It was hard. I was scared. When I rented this apartment, I was like, what in the F am I doing? What did I just do? I rented this apartment and put money down to keep it. When I still had a house in Nebraska that I hadn't even put up for sale and I had 30 days to get here. It's just like, I could have waited, but I would have been paying rent for a place I wasn't even living. So it was like, you got to hurry up. You got 30 days. Sell your house. Sold my house within a week. Packed up my stuff. Boom. I was in New York City. But that was a decision of, I'm not going to live the life that I know doesn't belong to me. I'm going to create this thing called Gumball Love, and I'm going to share this message with women. I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm just going to do it. So I went to conferences, and I learned, and I took courses, and I invested. You guys, I just want you to know that I cashed out my 401k 10 years ago to stop and create the bones of this. I've spent thousands and thousands of dollars of my own money. It looks ridiculous to an accountant. They're like, what is this chick doing every year? But you know what? I know that this is a huge thing that I'm laying out into the world. And God had to prepare me as much as I'm helping you. And so maybe not as much, but he had to prepare me so that I could help you on a bigger level. And he's been working on me, because when I came to New York City, I wasn't ready to deliver this to the world. I still had so much work to do. And I also needed success stories. My girlfriend Jess said, Melissa, why haven't you published your book? And I said, well, the book I have now is just kind of my stories and what I thought the process was like. I really wanted real case studies. I said, now I have women that have gotten married, gotten engaged, left their marriages, successfully divorced gumball guys, and are now in their apartments by themselves, free in their own beautiful space, getting themselves back. Like, I could give you case study after case study after case study, girl after girl after girl, and we're still building them right now. We have active stories, transformations really happening, and that's what I wanted. So now, I told you I was cleaning out my closet, because I've been pulling out of the archives all of the research that put all this together. And now it's time to write the book, which I hate to even say publicly, but I have to just buckle down and do this, because Kelly Lynn Adams at her event, she said, if you had a death sentence and someone said you're going to die in 30 days, what's the one thing you wish you would have left behind? And it's the book. I know it. It's like, as soon as she said it, I'm like, this needs to be in a book. Yes, you would have podcasts. Yes, you would have social media posts, and that would be great because I have tons of videos. So I have a lot of content that's out there. So I wouldn't die that unhappy, but I'll tell you, a few years ago, none of that was out, and I was scared to do it all. But that's the point. I'm telling you this because that's the point where I decided to leave my gumball guy, make a plan, and live the life that was authentically me. When everybody I knew said, why would you move to New York? Why would you do that? Same thing happened when I moved to Japan my sophomore year in high school. Long story, I'll have to tell you sometime, but I went to school at the Air Force Base in Kadena. And people were like, why would you go to Japan? You're in the middle of high school. What are you doing? That's crazy. You're going to be on an island. You're not going to be able to come home for a year. Like, are you nuts? Best decision I ever made. I was immersed in hundreds of cultures. People from all over the world were at that Air Force Base. I had friends from countries I had never heard of before. People that were, there was like every mixture of culture, because it would be like American soldiers and Marines that had married women in all these different countries and had these children. They were all at this school. It was like the most incredible experience. And I saw the world differently. I saw the world and understood that there are so many other beautiful people in it. And it wasn't just people that looked like me, that it wasn't just the United States, that it wasn't just my state of Nebraska. It was just that the melting pot that was there, and the experience I had was life altering. I knew I needed to do it. So I've always been a bit of a risk taker. However, I was always very hindered by relationships because so much of my worth and value was caught up in what that guy thought of me. And I would get so weak with those kinds of men. Yet there was this other part of me that was the risk taker, that was the achiever. And so I want you to really ask yourself, because I can tell you from the other side, now that I've gotten over all those relationships and I look back at where they are now, I'm like, thank God they didn't go anywhere great. Though all that BS that they would tell me about, oh, you're just doing bull. It's like, no, they were the ones that were afraid. They were the ones that were so threatened and intimidated. I've had a couple of instances where I've been able to come into, or I've run into these guys over the years, and I look how they look at me now. And it would be like, whoa, I see how threatened they are. I see the fear in their eyes. Or before I couldn't see that because I was blinded by how much I cared about them. But coming back around, running into them here and there over this past 10 years of developing this concept, it's eye-opening. So to conclude this whole thing, the guy that doesn't commit to you, that keeps coming around, and I did this in a little bit different version, but I just recently, but it's the guy that keeps coming at you, but he won't commit, which, it was just like, as I said that, I'm like, well, that's the title of my other podcast, but this is a completely different perspective of this guy. It just some different nuances. He's afraid of you because he's afraid you're going to reject him. That's it. He hates himself. So the answer is not working on your relationship. The answer is, what is it going to take for him to not hate himself? Now, I've never hated myself, but I've come from pretty low self-esteem, like pretty rock bottom. And I know what it takes to get out of that hole and maintain it. I know you've worked on yourself too. You know that you have to do it every day. You have to be able, self-care and self-love is daily maintenance. Yeah, you have to do the physical things like get a manicure and, take care of your skin and your teeth and your health and whatever. But there's also the mental daily self-care. We wake up and we are thirsty for inspiration. We are thirsty for time with God. We are thirsty for meditation. We need it. So if we don't do it, we're starving. And what is it when you're starving and you're really just, all you are is hungry, right? What are you hungry for? Carbs, because that's going to give you the quickest fix. And that's what these guys do. They're starving for attention. They're starving for all the things that they really need, yet their appetite is only for the quick fix. So really, this is the final thing I'm going to leave you with. If you really love him, you will let him go so that he can finally learn that he can't lean on you anymore. You are his crutch. Even though he might be cloaking this in rejecting you, he's not really rejecting you. He's rejecting himself. So the best thing you can do is move on from him so that he can really see, wow, I actually lost her. And you can say in whatever form you feel like, you will not commit to me because you don't like yourself. And until you like yourself and until you know your own worth and value, you're never going to feel like you can be comfortable in a relationship with me. And he might be like, oh, whatever, but he'll remember it. He'll think about it every day because he knows it's true. And that's what I want you to walk away from this, knowing that it's because you're so amazing. And the only way to really make him comfortable is to dim your light. And on the other side, okay, one more thing I'm going to leave you with. On the other side, here's what I picture. I know that I see really high quality men, high achieving men marry really high achieving quality women. Over and over and over again, I've seen this. And I really observe those couples and think, wow, if she had not been at the top of her game, he would not be attracted to her. So if we want to attract really high quality men at the top of their game, where do we have to be? The top of our game. You want a guy that looks great and takes care of himself? You got to look great and take care of yourself. Do what you have to do. So I want you to prepare yourself mentally as you think about this guy and think, okay, what is the life like with that next guy? And also, though, that we don't focus too much on preparing ourselves just for a man, but that we actually take a moment and think, what do I really want my life to look like? And then as you see, okay, this is the lifestyle that I now have. Like I used to think, okay, well, what if I meet a guy that wants this or that? Is that really going to fit? No, you design your life and then you find the person that fits in that. So if you haven't really designed your life's been kind of on hold because you've been, really spending time with this other guy and you just, your dreams are sort of paused or they've gone really slow because you're holding back because you're waiting for approval. You're waiting for the guy to tell you it's okay. So it's going to be a transition for you to transition out of that relationship and overcome that feeling of, what if I'm by myself? Melissa, I haven't been by myself. That seems really scary. I know. But if you don't do it, you'll never be ready for the right relationship. So that's a whole nother podcast. But I just want you to mentally prepare that the work that you're going to do for yourself and on yourself is going to prep you for the kinds of people and the lifestyle that the people that match your energy, your frequency, your goals, your desires, those people are the ones that you're really going to run your race of life with. And the people that hate themselves, they're not the ones that you're going to hang with. You can't, because eventually their energy, it affects you. You start to absorb into it. You're just like the 5 people you spend the most time with. So, or maybe the top 3 people, your top 2 people you spend the most people you spend the most time with, you're going to adopt their behaviors, their beliefs. So we have to be really careful. If we're spending time with a guy that really hates himself, the way he speaks, the way he acts, the energy, the kind of music he listens to, the movies he plugs into, what is he feeding his mind with? How is that coming across to you? How is that affecting your life? Because we only got one shot here. Time's ticking. This isn't on pause until he gets his stuff together. We're in real time. Nobody's going to blow a whistle and pause. The clock just keeps going and running and running. Like the sands through the hourglass. Sorry, I just totally thought of sands through the hourglass, but it's true. It's like you think of like sand going through the hourglass. So anxiety, invoking. It's like, but it's true. You're not getting any younger and your goals need to be achieved because your purpose is greater than finding your husband. Your husband may be a partner. One of the things this girl said to me, which was so powerful, she said, it's okay to grow together. So when you meet the guy that you're really supposed to be with, he'll need to grow too. And she said, I just want women to know that it's okay that you guys grow together. So when you meet him, he's going to have some growth to do too. And you'll be able to do that part together. So you don't have to be at this perfect plateau of arrival and you're so perfect and waiting for him like you're on some bachelorette stage and he's going to come propose. No, you're going to meet somewhere in the climb. And you're going to look over and be like, oh, he's got his backpack and he's got all his tools and we're climbing this together. And then you'll do it together. But you can do it alone too. There's a part of the journey that's just for you. And that is where you're going to build strength and create an infrastructure inside that's going to sustain you so that you don't become too weak or dependent. He doesn't become too weak or dependent. You're an alpha female. He's the alpha male. 2 alphas. That's the team. That's the couple. There's no alpha and beta. True marriages have an alpha female and an alpha male. Nobody's dominating the other. If they are, it's a bad marriage. I don't care who you talk to. The research proves it. Real couples are team. They're on a team. They're best friends and they work together. Maybe they're the king and the queen, but there's no princess. So if you want to be the princess in the relationship and he's your servant, then you're the one that's wrong. There's no princess. Stop it. Be the queen. You can be the queen, but he's the king. He's got to be your equal. So we have to look at men like that. Oh, he may treat you like the queen, but you're going to treat him like a king. That's what makes it beautiful. You don't want anybody dominating or feeling submissive. That's that team effort. Now, in that dynamic, I think there are feminine and masculine, things that couples do together. But I'll tell you, some things we think traditionally of male or female duties or roles, but every couple adopts those differently. So I'm just going to let you decide what those are because you have masculine and feminine qualities and so does he. And the way those come together is different in every couple. So you can't quiet down your masculine or quiet down your feminine, but it takes a while to kind of figure out what that really means. Like, am I really feminine? Am I masculine? Have I really thought about those things? Like, who am I really to develop? But when you're in this relationship, waiting on this guy to stop hating himself, it's really hard to work on that. It's really holding you back. And it's holding you back from the life that you're meant to live. And let me tell you, take it from me. I'm a couple of years, maybe more than a couple, on the other side of gumball guy relationships. And I look back and I think, man, I am not missing a thing. So trust me, I know you might feel like you'll be missing out, but you're not. So if you want more information or you want to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballove.com. There's 2 tabs. One that says Academy. They'll give you all the information in the packages. The other one that says one-on-one. If you click on one-on-one, you can see all the ways to work with me just one-on-one. If you prefer that, that's great. If you're going through this, I really recommend you book at least 3 sessions so that we can talk through, because I get into all those details. What is he doing? What is he saying? What is he texting? I'm not going to just sit there and give you the typical, generic advice like, he's a narcissist and he's this, like, you're better than that. No, I get in there deep because you have to get in there to get out. So sometimes you have to get a little deeper and really see what's going on in your relationship to then be able to know how to get out. So I don't tell you to leave him. You'll decide that. But I do give you perspective and game-shifting, paradigm-shifting ideas and ways of looking at things to then help you build the strength to finally make that decision when you are ready. So I hope to see you in the next academy. Hope to meet you. You can always send me an email, Melissa@gumball.love. There's 3 L's, gumball and then love. Melissa, Melissa, Melissa@gumball.love.com. Talk to you soon. Thank you so much for listening. If you want more information or to schedule a private coaching session, or better yet, to join the next Back to You Academy, go to gumballlove.com. If you loved this podcast, I would love for you to share it with your friends. And if you really loved it, a 5-star review is the best compliment you can give. Remember, you are enough, you are right where you should be, and the only thing you have to do is keep going. I'll leave you with my favorite quote by Henry David Thoreau. Go confidently in the direction of your dreams and live the life you have imagined. Until next time, I'll see you soon.